And then they'll hear us talking about this. All right, yeah, we could, okay. So I've been working on our letter to appropriations, and we're gonna try and wrap that up today if we can. I think we're actually like 80% of the way there. We are gonna hear just in a few minutes from the Agency of Agriculture with those extra questions that we'd asked. So it will be helpful to hear that, I think, before we make any final decisions on this. So just to review, we're supporting these amounts that were in the governor's budget in the base. Local purchasing incentive, 500,000, that's the money that is available to schools that purchase local food. AOE came in and talked to us about that. That it was oversubscribed this year for the first time. And then the farm.
That's level funded.
That's level funded at 500,000, yeah. We are, just by the way, the lead committee on asking for that funding. So in the past, because it's AOE, the education committee has worked on that, and they asked us to do that this time. So if there's more discussion or conversation that anybody thinks we should have about that, but just as an FYI. And then the 500, it has been 500 and it was increased to 500,875 for the farm to school grants. That's a grant program that's been around for a while that we've also heard testimony in. And then fairs and field days, I want to just confirm what that number is. We heard testimony the other day from the fair group, and we need to just go back and see what's in the budget.
My notes do not include that.
Okay.
It's two sets of numbers too.
I thought it was.
It's two programs, right? It's
Yeah.
institution and stipend.
Yeah. There's the stipend it's an amount that's split over all not the 10 fairs or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's 300, but whatever it is, we're in support of it.
I don't, I thought it was 100,000 or spread out between all of them and maybe 30,000 per capital, but
I'm gonna check and see whether they sent us anything that spells it out. I looked.
I don't know. It's not. I think it's like, isn't it like through 300 or something for the infrastructure and 212 or something like that for stipends?
Got to check.
Something.
I do not remember at all.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna suggest that we support, I know we had a discussion about this a little bit yesterday, that we support the full funding, statutory funding for the Housing and Conservation Board, a big number, and it's, I think we have historically looked at it and said, oh, well, it wouldn't hurt if we took a little bit from that. And then.
Although this committee never did.
This committee never did, yeah. Other committees did, and we've gotten back to a point now where the focus is on housing, and I think we want to make sure there's also focus on conservation, that we continue that.
Do we know at all? I know we really didn't talk about budget with them when they were here. How much of that would be used toward housing, how much would be used for conservation?
Yeah,
Who decides that?
And overhead.
Yep, somewhere along the way, and I can't remember who told me this or where it was, I don't think it was in the committee, but historically, it's more like, I'm gonna say 60-40, and I may have that wrong, just as a caveat, but we could ask for that number.
Could
And
we try to do that before?
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
so get back to us quickly.
yeah.
And kind of maybe that same thing that we asked the food bank of, is their operating budget 15% of the
Yeah.
total, like the food bank, or how's that work?
Yeah, good. Good question. Patricia, could you just make a note to reach out to the I can help you with who, because there's a lot of context there. Vermont Housing and Conservation.
And
Polly, maybe.
Yeah. Poly Major probably.
we reach out to Jackie Folsom. One thing that was unique about the fairs and field days is the entire board is there. There's no administrative dollar, not one.
Yeah.
Right. To your point, that's unique among departments.
All right, those are the items that I think are in the governor's recommended budget debates, and then,
Besides the agency and FBR.
yes, yeah, so the agency has, within the agency budget and within the FBR budget, there are a couple things that I'll also mention here. So then I think yesterday we collectively felt that NOFA, Working Lands, and Vermont Food Bank were three that we would put towards the top. The NOFA request is for 500,000. The Vermont Food Bank is for 2 million for Vermonters Feeding Vermonters. Those are the requests. We need to confirm that those are the numbers we want to recommend or some other numbers. And then the Working Lands, there is $1 million in the base, and then there was a request to bump that up to 5 million.
A request from them.
From the coalition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was broken into 500,000 base and
3.5,
3.5
yeah.
one time,
Yeah.
right?
So any thoughts on, let's start with that one. Yeah.
1.5 days.
If the 500,000 was added to the one.
Right.
So what part is in the governor's recommend?
1 million. And that's what it was last year.
I feel like we should stick with that because I think the likelihood that we're gonna get any extra is so slim that if we ask extra in every category, we're gonna end up just not getting the things we want. So I would lean towards going with 1 million for that one and then asking for these other ones like Vermonters Feeding Vermonters isn't in the governor's recommend and neither is NOFA. And those are the programs that are the like double duty farmer supporting and also food supporting in terms of food insecure people. So that would be my 2 cents.
Other, yeah, John?
Would it make sense to ask for more, but have it not at the top of the list?
That's also possible.
Yeah, make it
I'm
clear.
not thinking 5 million, no, that there's no point in asking for 5, it'd be a waste of.
We could potentially ask for that 500,000, but just as a one time.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think we could, and we can certainly make it clear that these are we would prioritize this. Yeah.
And were we also gonna make a note in there that the matching?
Yeah. Yep, I've got a note about that.
The one thing I like about Working Lands, like I can't remember her name, but the woman who has Elizabeth has the company that makes hot sauces and
Yeah.
that was Working Lands, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
she received.
Received a grant.
And it's,
Oh, that
it's,
butterfly.
to me,
Yeah.
that's pretty powerful seed money, you know? That creates jobs and it boosts our economy, you know? And you're giving it to people who are pretty gung ho to do something, you know? And I've received it before in the past. And it was 50% match back when we did it.
Yeah.
And, I still use the equipment that we bought with that. I probably wouldn't have bought it otherwise.
Yeah.
And extended, I bought it for long-term storage bins. And that made it so I could sell my apples longer and keep them in good condition, to be able to wholesale them. So
Yeah.
and there is a lot to be said about that program.
We've heard, consistently that the demand, for what it's worth, demand outpaces what we've made available. And yeah, no question that it's made a huge difference for people. And it's helped with food resiliency. So, yeah, definitely is an important program. We could say we also support, we support certainly what's in the recommendation, and we would be, also open to having another additional amount, maybe it's 500,000 in one time or increasing the base. Typically, what happens is money, if there is any extra money, it's one time. It's a harder sell to put in the base. We can ask for it in the base and then what is the psychology of asking for more versus asking for less and asking for the base as opposed to one time? I don't know what the answer is to that.
So somebody on another committee told me that their committee was told, or their interpretation was, if they were recommending anything that wasn't in the governor's budget, they needed to find where it was gonna come from within their same category.
No.
No?
No.
Okay, all right, so we don't need to make recommendations about where cuts need to come.
No.
We just put the things on our list and hope that they figure it out.
So yesterday, I mentioned that I'd heard that the school budgets had come down a little bit. And this came up again in discussion across the hall after committee time was done. There was an education sort of update. The numbers are percentages, in percentage increases. And the working number had been 5.8% growth in school budgets, and now it's looking more like 4.3%. So it's down 1.5%. And on 2 billion or whatever our total education fund is, somebody else will have to do the calculation, but so not an insignificant amount anyway. And so that's money that if we were to use the general fund to try and buy down property tax increases, that means we will have to use less of the general fund. So arguably there's more available. Anyway, I don't think we need to say, take the money from here. It's understood that it'll be general fund money, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Consistent with that policy we were talking about yesterday of, we all agree on feeding Vermonters. That's food security is definitely a priority. But also to Greg's point, I think that growing our farm and forest economy sectors is important, and whether that means, Greg selling apples to school or in Working Land's case, job creation.
Yeah.
That has a certain amount of money coming back to the state too with
Yeah.
income tax. So.
Yeah.
And keeping money in the
And-
economy. So
and-
that's pretty powerful.
arguably makes it possible for the grant recipient to participate in Vermonters Eating Vermonters.
Right.
Down the road, so. Okay, so if conceptually, we all agree that those things are true, then the question is still what number, how do we ask for it? So I did hear somebody suggest 500,000.
With the match that John said and Greg said that.
Yeah, and matching would be part of that, yeah. Do we have our Zoom guests here yet?
I
John?
propose a million.
Million, okay. In one time?
Yes.
How much did they ask for?
3.5 in one time,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah.
Yeah, that's been long standing, hasn't it? And rarely, if ever,
Yeah,
realized. I think when it was created, right, wasn't it supposed to be something like 5 million?
Well, that was the dream, yeah, exactly, but.
And with ARPA, it realized it maybe twice. Yeah.
I mean, I would just add that if we ought to ask for more than we think we're gonna get.
We haven't really talked about that second category, like the conservation districts, which have a positive multiplier.
so, good, they're not the next on the list, but we'll come to that shortly. So Vermonters Eating Vermonters is the other one, and that's so it's $2 million request. Do we want to support that number? Do we want to support a different number?
for me, that's my top choice, and I would definitely say to fund it. I mean, I think last time we asked for that and they gave us a fraction of it. And they'll make use of whatever they get out of it, but the more they get, the more farmers can do. And then, and it's kind of like you were talking about with working lands, if they get money, if that they know they can count on, they can run their business more efficiently. It's gonna promote farming in the future. So, yeah, I vote for 2.
It's important.
That's the food bank too, right?
Yeah. Okay, the conservation districts are recommended in the governor's budget level base funding of 612,000. And the request was to increase that to 948,200. And I don't have in front of me whether that's base or I think that was base, but I'm not certain. Anyway, so those are 2 numbers. We can come up with our own number.
What's the difference? 300 something? It's not a ton of money.
330 something,
No.
yeah.
What was the amount they want?
948,200. So, all right, let's think about that one. And I want to also say, while we're not talking about big numbers, the security fund, the Farm and Forestry Operations Security Special Fund. So that's the one that is funded by us, and it's S60 set program. We don't have any money for it so far. And the request was for 15.6 million. That was calculated on half of the losses, average losses over the past 3 years. We saw those slides the other day. So that's a big number.
I would support 500,000 as an initial contribution to that fund.
Okay. Other thoughts?
It's a bit lower than 15 million.
Just a start.
It's a start, yeah.
I mean, my feeling is if we need to open a bank account, whatever the lowest amount is, just because whatever we put in there, 500,000, 50,000, even 3
Yeah.
million, it's not going to be enough to really address the next emergency in any meaningful way.
Yep.
So, but it's an important thing. And I think if Senate approach or somebody wants, throw money at it, we certainly agree with that. But when you think of that multiplier effect or food security, it's just sort of money in an account that's there, and it's not going to affect any Vermonters really until it's used. Whereas these other programs we're talking about have immediate, there's impact.
Okay. Any thoughts on that before you leave?
I think that it's a good thing to support, and I don't know what number makes sense, but I think we should give them something. And I mean, may at least their ask, and maybe more than their ask, because it seems like, I mean, when we hear Richard talk about them, they do really important work that nobody else does.
All right.
But also,
The conservation district?
Yeah.
Oh, but what
yeah.
about this?
We're
The security.
Oh, the security fund. Oh, sorry.
You need to go and testify. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Come up with a number and I'll look at it when I come
Yeah,
back.
we won't make any final decisions. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
But we were talking about the Vermont Youth Conservation Corps.
That's a different line item.
Now we're actual resource
Yeah.
district.
And I'm gonna suggest, because I see the agency has joined us on Zoom and wanna temporarily put this discussion on hold, but this is part of the larger discussion. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
And are we just at you this morning, or is,
No, it looks like Nicole's in the waiting room.
okay, she's just joining, okay. Hi, Nicole.
Hello,
Morning.
how are you? Good morning.
Good. I guess I'll start by asking whether either of you wants to share anything, share your screen.
I can share a spreadsheet I have that just breaks down our budget from 2019 forward, if that would be helpful to lead the discussion.
Sure, yeah. While you're pulling that up, thank you both for joining us on short notice.
Sure.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, yeah.
You, either of you, recall a time when say the executive branch told the agencies that you have to, cut 5% or 3%, like not level or, a sort of COLA increase. Like Representative Lipsy and I were just talking about how, school boards at times have to look at a school budget and say, okay, we're getting very strong guidance that the school budget needs to be 5% less. And I couldn't remember if the agencies, specifically Agency of Agriculture, had to do that at some point in the last 15 years.
So, for the record, Nicole Dubuque, Agency of Agriculture, Chief Operating Officer. So, neither Amy nor I has been with this agency for 15 years. In the last 3 years that I've been with the agency, we have not been asked to specifically cut the budget. Rather, we do kind of like budgeting exercises to make sure that our increase stays within like what would be considered level funding. Like I think it's normally like 3% or something like that. In my previous role in the Agency of Human Services, when I worked for DCF, there were a few years where we had to put forth cuts to the budget. So it does happen, but in the past 3 years, I have not been asked to do that. I don't know, Amy, if you had a different experience.
Not that I can recall, but like Nicole said, for the record, Amy Mercer, Financial Director, it's pretty much been level funding.
Yeah. I think another important thing to note too is that we are running on roughly 22% general fund, whereas there are other agencies that run much higher than that. So it's difficult for us to, like, we can't just cut out of our federal funding, for example, because that's what USDA is giving us. We've been charged with running a specific program for them. So we can't really put that forward as a cut to our budget.
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
All right, we see the spreadsheet. Nicole?
Perfect. All right, so I am, oh, my screen sharing is paused. You can still see it though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to run through this and take any questions, but I thought a visual would be helpful, and I can certainly send this to you after our discussion today. So we've laid out fiscal year 19 through fiscal year 27 for the agency. We've divided it by category of funding, and we've also done a position breakdown for you here. So you'll see that if we just jump from fiscal year 19 to 27, we've had moderate increases every year, but we've really gone from a budget of 24.83 million to 61.19 million over the last few years. You'll see general fund, while it has increased, and we have some reasons for why it increased. So can you still see the spreadsheet? I want to make sure that I'm not changing.
We'll shout out
things.
if we don't.
Perfect. Okay, so we've had general fund increases over time, but the actual percentage of how much our budget is made up of general fund has gone down. So we're at about 22% reliance right now. In 2019, we were about 34%, and most of our general fund increases can be attributed to working lands, NRCC, farm to school, internal service fees were a big thing. So just to explain that to you, that's where our general fund increases have come from. We've gone from about 8.39 million to 13.7 million over the last several years. Then we have our federal funds. So this is really where we've had big increases. So we went from about 3.61 million in federal funds in fiscal year 19 up to 20 million now. So we can attribute a fair amount of that to DBIC and some other USDA programs that have come to us that we've been required to administer. And then we have special funds, which has increased from about 12.39 million to 24.35 million. And a lot of that increase can be attributed to clean water funds. So those are the big ones I wanted to point out. You'll also notice that our position count total has gone from 126 to 151. And that includes both exempt, permanent, and limited service positions. I'm happy to go into detail about kind of what and where those positions increased, but I can stop for a second and take questions.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions, and one question that I'm wondering right off, and you might not have this at your fingertips, but in the are all those 151 positions today funded out of the general fund?
No. Most of them are not.
Okay. We may want to drill into that a little bit, but I think we've got a couple other questions here. John.
Sorry, DBIC, I don't know what that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the Dairy Business Innovation Center, and it is run out of our Agricultural Development Division within our agency. However, the Dairy Business Innovation Center actually serves all 11 northeastern states. And so we do have 6 positions supported, and they're all limited service positions supported by the funding we get for the Dairy Business Innovation Center. But those 6 positions don't only serve Vermont, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So that's money coming in, it comes in, some of it goes out to Vermonters in grant form, but it's all funded federally.
It is all funded federally, and I think an important thing to note there, just while we're talking about positions, is those 6 positions, because they are funded with that very specific federal funding, we can't find bandwidth in them, for example. So if there was something that came up that is funded by general fund, we can't look to those 6 positions and say, can you do this for us, because of how their funding is. They have to work solely on DBIC.
That makes sense, yeah.
And also you mentioned that these numbers include working lands. Would that just be for the recurring working lands, like during when we had all the COVID money, there was a big bump in that. Is that reflected in these numbers, or are the one-time funding wouldn't show up in?
This is just base budget. So
Okay.
the one time that we got, was it last year or the year before, would not be reflected here. This is just the base budget, but I think our working lands budget, Amy, help me with the numbers, went from something like 450,000 up to $1 million. So that would be reflected here.
Yes.
Representative Burt?
Sure. Nicole, what the special fund money you said goes to water quality? Well, a lot of that are related to water quality. How many positions are there, or how many are in that special fund that are specific for water quality, and what exactly is that program doing? Is that like the cover crop type programs and things with, manure injection? Is that what that money goes toward?
So our special funds, we've compiled all of our special funds. So it's all the fees that we collect, and it's also the clean water funding that we get from the Clean Water Board, all compiled into one lump sum number. So some of that money is brought in from our plant industry division and pays for those positions. A large chunk of it is brought in from clean water, and it pays for those positions. So to answer your question specifically, we have, in our water quality division, we have 20 permanent positions and 11 limited service positions, and there is a variety of things that they do. So we have do you have something to add, Amy? Sorry.
Yep, I just wanted to say that there are 13 positions that are funded with clean water funding. But that's a mix of funding that comes in the approved clean water budget through the Clean Water Board, plus fees that the agency collects, such as the large farm operations fees and the medium farm operation fees.
So it looks like 13 then of
Yep.
the 31 positions we have are fully covered by Clean Water Board funding. But they do a variety of different things. So we have the inspectors that actually go out and do the inspections and make sure that we don't have non-point source discharges happening, report those to A&R if we do find that there are discharges happening. Then we also have our engineers who help with some of our matching programs for federal programs through NRCS. So they're going to go out and do work on that and make sure that the engineering plans are cleared for some of those infrastructure projects that we support. And then we also have staff in that division that do granting programs. So they kind of put the money out the door that comes our way from both capital budget for grants and then also Clean Water Board.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Representative O'Brien.
Nicole, just by definition, are limited service positions almost always funded by, non-general fund monies, mostly federal?
Yes, so limited service positions are primarily funded through federal funds, or they could be funded maybe through one-time appropriations sometimes, but like normally it's related to a time-limited source of funding.
Within the permanent category for each of the divisions that you've got up, those would be, some are exempt and then the rest are not exempt, I guess is what you would call them. Permanent, okay.
We have a total of 6 exempt staff in the entire agency, and they all exist within the administration division. And then we have a total of 116 permanent staff, which are sprinkled throughout all 6 divisions. And then we have 29 limited service staff. And I'm not sure, can you see the colorful spreadsheet or are you still seeing the overall summary?
We're seeing the color, we just slipped back there. Yeah,
Okay.
you're toggling and we can see that. Representative O'Brien.
Just to follow up, so exempt are all appointments, right?
They're not all appointments. So there's Secretary Tebbets and Deputy Secretary Eastman. There's also Secretary Tebbets' executive assistant. Those are exempt, but then attorneys are also exempt. So our general counsel is exempt. Our staff attorney is exempt. And I'm missing this. Oh, and then our assistant attorney general that's assigned to us is also exempt. So those are the 6 I just named there. And our AAG actually works for the attorney general's office, but we pay the salary. So it's in our budget.
And then, not to go too far off here, but exempt normally means exempt, I think, from like overtime. So is that what it means here? Does everyone else qualify to be paid if they work more than 40 hours for overtime?
So there's different categories, which I think are classified in the collective bargaining agreement. And so management level, I believe, qualifies for comp time or straight time overtime. And these questions are probably better answered by DHR, but I'm just trying to do my best. And then there's like pay grade delineations for what you can get for overtime. I think it's pay grade 25 and below can qualify for time and a half cash. So there's different stipulations depending on your pay plan, but exempt does not get overtime.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Other questions? Representative Burke.
I guess, just looking at it from a 30,000 foot view, it's seeing the budget go from, could you go back to the other spreadsheet, Nicole? Going from 24.8 to 61 in 7 years, I guess. Initially, that looks like a big jump, but obviously the money coming from the federal government toward the Dairy Innovation Board is a big part of that. Looks like water quality initiatives are a big part of that too. Is there anything else that the agency's doing that has increased, the activity of the agency significantly that is accounting for that large increase outside of inflation, which obviously that's a big factor too.
I mean, so those are the big ones, but I think like the important note here, and part of what I want to bring up, because we did request a position for the business office this year, is just the fact that while you can see that the administration division has increased the number of positions over the years, the majority of that, actually all but one position, was just those positions moving out of other divisions for restructuring. So we haven't actually gained a lot there. And the most important point is that the business office has not increased the number of positions they have at all since 2019. So we've maintained 4 people in our business office, including Amy. Since 2019, we actually have one of our staff out on leave right now, and that has happened in previous years, leaving us with 3 people total. What has increased is that the business office has to manage Vail, which would have come into the fold in 2019. We didn't have the management of the shared lab with A&R before then to this extent. We also get a lot of one-times that the business office has to handle. We brought in the Dairy Business Innovation Center, and while they have 6 employees to process grants, our business office actually has to handle the money. We've also received coronavirus relief funds, which the business office had to handle. We had American Rescue Plan Act funds that the business office had to handle. BGAP, even though ACCD held the budget for that, we had to do a lot of processing as far as the applications and whatnot with internal staff only to do that. And then there's other special projects that come up for the business office, like VT buys, where we just have to use one of our 4 people to try to do that. We don't have a centralized grants and contracts unit that exists in our administration division. We don't have an audit unit in our division. And the position we're requesting, I just want to put it out there so that the information there, it would be coming from the position pool, and we would be asking for a 70% general fund contribution for it.
Can you say a little bit more about that, Nicole? What does it mean to from a budgetary standpoint, come from the pool, and then part 2 of the question, to have a 70% contribution?
Right. So the position pool, you have to go through the position pool committee. You submit paperwork to request the position. But essentially what it means is there's a position number that already exists within state government that was given up or is vacant, for example, in another agency that's been given back to the pool. And that could be for a variety of reasons and funding shifts. So we ask for a position from that pool. We kind of speak our piece about why we need it. And it's not a new position created for state government, if that makes sense. So we're not adding to the overall number of positions that exist in state government by getting one from the pool. We're just moving it into our agency. And then we have kind of other funding streams that we're able to use to cover the 30%. And then the 70% is what we would be asking for general fund to cover. And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. So if you'd like to know more of a breakdown, I think Amy could probably grab that for you.
No, thank you. I think that is good background. So the 30% would be coming, if it's coming from other sources, it might be because you can say, well, this position is supporting somehow water quality, and so we can use some of the special fund.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Representative O'Brien.
Nicole, as we heard with FPR, some of the limited service positions, funding is gonna sunset here in a year or two, and so, we may have to decide whether positions like, say, the climate forester, we want to pay for at the state level, if the federal government isn't supportive going forward. So I wondered if that was the case with some of these limited service positions, and as an example also, or maybe it's parallel, with the coming sort of CAFO restructuring of water quality, will positions perhaps migrate to A&R, for example?
So as far as the limited service positions, if we're talking about the ones in our agricultural development division, I am not aware off the top of my head of like a specific program that is sunsetting at this point, but that can very well happen where a USDA program can end or change or shift. And at that point, we would have to and I should preface this with, every year we do a review with finance and management to look at all of our limited service positions and say the funding is still doing exactly what it's intended to do. It still exists. We're still paying for this position with federal funding exactly the way we asked the Joint Fiscal Office for the position, right? We do that review every year. So in a scenario where a program did sunset, we would have to discuss that in our review and likely opt to not extend it unless, of course, right, the legislature or the administration felt like they wanted to fill that with state funds. I think that's probably very similar to FPR. As far as water quality goes, I think I would have to defer to our general counsel about that. I am not aware at this point of any plan to move positions, at least not in fiscal year 27. So I'm happy to get back to you on that, but I'm not aware of that plan.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right. Well, this has been helpful. Yeah, I think, and really enlightening to see how much larger the department is overall, and understanding that there are explanations for that. And really the staffing's increased over that time, but by 25 positions in total, it looks like, from 126 to 151. So and we again heard why that might be so. So good. I think we can wrap it up then.
Okay. Yeah, I will send over this spreadsheet to you so that you all can have it, and I'm happy to answer any further questions that you might have come up.
All righty. Thanks, Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.